Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. Well, I'm back out here at Giga-Texas one last time this week before I head off to Starbase. And what I decided to do is do another early morning flight and take a look inside the west part of the factory, particularly that third floor along the side from about the 4680 structural pack section down to where the Cybertruck production is. The reason why I wanted to do that is that they've been adding a lot of mezzanines in to expand the entire space. They've also been moving a lot of equipment into this area over the last several months, and today we get a chance to see some of what they've been doing. Now, with a series of these images that I will show you, you can tell that we got some really nice clear looks inside this part of the factory. And what we see is what appears to be workstations, some of these very large yellow robotic assemblers being installed, other equipment as well, and the space in general is starting to look a lot more organized than it has over the last several months as they've been doing that construction. So it really looks like they've turned the corner and they are definitely assembling much of all that equipment that we've been watching being delivered over on the west side at that material staging yard, where that is still going on today. But also they've been moving a lot of that equipment onto the east side on that second floor mezzanine, third floor, and third floor mezzanines above the body in white, where another production line is being put in. So this early morning shot and flight got a chance to see quite a bit of this activity on the west side of the factory, and it really gives us that insight of what is going on inside the area as they are preparing for a pretty big 2026 coming up. Now, I mentioned at the beginning I will be heading down to Starbase on Friday. Because of that, I won't be flying here on Giga-Texas. However, as a consolation prize, if you will, I'm going to try to stop at the Corpus Christi Lithium Plant and get a new drone shot and flight in on there and get a little bit of an update on what is going on with that facility. I'm kind of expecting to see much more activity, maybe even signs of production down there than what we've seen in the past. And of course, I will be at Starbase for Flight 10 of the Starship. This should be, at least as of right now, the 24th of August. And I will be live streaming with Ellie in space, kind of wearing her Mechazilla shirt here from a few flights ago. And I'm really hoping that we get a great flight mission and success, especially for all of the team down at Starbase working on Starship. So anyway, let's get the drone in the air, see what Giga-Texas looks like here on this early morning, and see what's going on inside the factory. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description.
If you are considering purchasing Starlink, I would recommend that you use my referral link at the bottom of the screen.
Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. So I hope you enjoyed those sunrise video clips above the factory. When I got here, I saw it developing and I thought, well, I got to start from this point of view. And so there you go. Now, what I'm going to do is take advantage of the low lighting, zoom in here and fly along the west side and kind of give you a look inside of all of the work that is being done. Now, on the second floor is a lot of the offices and workspace, as you can tell. On the third floor is where the structural packs are produced, and right in front you can see some robotic assemblers next to the glass, but you also see those black and white kind of crate-like items, those are for the structural pack. And also, you can tell that there are workstations with many of those yellow robots. Also, in the background, even more workstations, kind of red and white. In the foreground, kind of these yellow bins with other items. So anyway, this part of the factory has had a lot of work and changes recently to it. A lot of it is the equipment, but also they've been adding more flooring and more overall space for added capacity. Now in this section here, we can clearly see the new mezzanine as it's coming into view from the right to the left. A lot of the equipment inside on the lower floor is being unpacked, and you can see some of those robotic assemblers, some of the staircases, and even kind of a secondary structure for a floor in between the mezzanine and the main floor. And of course, a lot of equipment on all of them is being installed right now. More of it is being unpacked. We see those silver mylar kind of crates. We've seen those over at the staging yard, and this is what it looks like when they're unpacked. Now, this looks like a series of stations, some of which have these robotic assemblers, and these look kind of smaller in size than what you would see on an actual production line. So this may be either subcomponents or perhaps maybe a smaller product that will be developed at some point. But this is a great, very clear view across the floors here and all of the work that has been done over the last several months to prepare all of this site and expand this location. Now, behind the windows here is actually where the Cyber Rodeo event with the large stage took place back in April of 2022. That was a time when all of this was completely open space, and now you can tell how much more of the vertical of the building has been used with these floors now with the equipment. As I turn back quickly towards the west main entrance, we see the lights just turned off. That's an indication that the sun is coming up over the horizon, and I was hoping to give you a little bit more views of that with it lit up, but the timing was just a little bit off. But we do have great views through the windows into the main lobby. You can see the display of vehicles, also another mezzanine floor, and that is where workshops or workstations are and meeting rooms. On the floor above, it's a nice good view again of those workstations, the yellow robots and the red and white equipment cabinets that have been brought in to the factory. Now I'm going to kind of maneuver here a little more. We can see some on the third floor, that assembly, but also wanted to give you a peek through the opening currently in where the Model Ys exit the factory. You can see a red Model Y on the inside and those two new receiving doors just to the left of that opening. Now this opening eventually is going to be made into a receiving door, and there will be another exit for the Model Ys, but that has yet to be built, but hopefully we'll see that very soon. I'm going to bring the drone back in and take up where we left off. I'll zoom back in, and this is where you can tell there's a lot of these racking systems with equipment and parts. Also on the second floor, more crates of parts and just some other workstations, some equipment, and you know, you can get a good look at that part of the factory. Now, in the upper part of the factory, we see a lot of the cam-fill filtration units, those very large kind of industrial structures in the back, some equipment right next to the windows. And of course, in this section of the factory, they have the black tarps put up so that we can't get a great view inside, although there are a few openings within those tarps so you can get a little bit of a glimpse. Bring the drone down so you can see a little more on the second floor through this part of the site and just some of the activity there. Now we're passing those tarps. I'll bring the drone back up, and this is where a lot of the body parts for the Cybertruck are manufactured, and in the far wall is where the body in white is, where the robotic assemblers build that structural cage for the Cybertruck. Now this station here with the robots, I'm going to stop here momentarily. Actually, it's the next station coming up, excuse me. We'll continue to drive to the south here, but you'll see all the robots in the background, and I was trying to stop here for a moment, zoom in, you can see them moving. These are assembling the doors for a Cybertruck. In fact, that was a door that was just lifted up on the left-hand side of the screen, and more of the processing is underway. There's another one that just got picked up. Of course, there's a lot of other yellow robotic assemblers through this section of the factory. Now we're also getting close to the point where the new window line joins the old factory to the new factory. So I'm going to look back down here. You can tell on the ground floor, second floor, and third floor, all of these changes that have been made of this part of the factory. And as I bring the drone back down, this is that drive path that goes through this part of the section next to the boring tunnel, the cyber tunnel, and then out on the east side. And I'll try to give you a look through the glass here. It's starting to become too much glare because of the light, but you can see the X-Energy boxes on the ground. This is part of a data center support equipment that has been brought in and is in the process of being assembled. And with the reflection, it's really hard to tell, but a lot of open space here still on the south part of the extension of the building. As we look at the exterior where the three exit tunnels are, we can get a look at the work that's been done on either side of the tunnels, and that they're replacing that gravel mix, that kind of gray on the base of the windows on the left. And most of the grass is now well in place on the three levels of this terraced section. I did notice that the conduit that's being installed in the trenches along River Road extends all the way over to the cooling plant, as you can tell. And they have some of that red concrete mix on top of the conduit to seal it in, and also alert future people that may be doing trenching here that there is electrical conduit there. I'm going to give you a close-in look at the south side of River Road where that trenching work and other kind of I don't know, pipe installation has been going along through this location. Much of the trenches are partially filled back in, but in this section we see another trench box and a trench, and some of the work that is being done along this part of the roadway. There's actually another trench box right there at the bottom of the screen, and the equipment that is preparing the trenching for it to continue along this side. The fork in the road statue, haven't seen much change in the last couple of days. The trenching is for conduit. You can see the kind of circular lights that will form the base around the fork, and the tie-in for the conduits over next to where the light post is located. And as I kind of fly around, this gives you a look at what this appears like now, and a shot across the cyber pond back to the main factory. Of course, where Cortex 1 is in the background, and the fork symbolizes that fork in the road of autonomy. So it's kind of neat that it's being placed here and next to where Cortex is located. The berm work continues. The smaller caisson in the middle of the screen is kind of fenced off and prepared for the boring machine that is going to connect it to the caisson just west of the South Bridge. And I will give you a closer view of that here momentarily, but I'm going to pull away and give you a nice view from the southwest looking across this part of the site. I mentioned the boring tunneling machine. It has now been assembled. It is at the base of this caisson. And as I try to maneuver around and zoom in so you can get a nice view down, you can tell that white kind of tubular item is two parts of a four-part of the tunnel boring machine. So part of it's already into the bore. We see the pistons on the left that is helping to push the boring machine into the ground. It will make that tunnel, and the material will be brought out here and it will be collected in the spoils bin off to the left of the crane. And then once the tunnel boring machine is through the wall and into the ground, then the concrete segments that you see at the bottom of the screen with kind of that teal ring around it, that will be placed in, and then those pistons will push it all the way through, and it's going to connect this caisson to the other smaller one on the other side of the highway. Right behind the crane you can see that spoils bin. That's where the material comes out of the tunnel itself once the tunnel boring machine is in operation. The West Warehouse on Wheels looks quite full with a lot of the trailers. And as we continue to maneuver here, I wanted to stop at this material staging yard, a nice view back towards downtown Austin, and a lot of various things to see, starting with these items in these kind of white wrappings. You can see the red behind it.
This has been moved into parts of the factory, and it is similar to those stations that we saw earlier in the video. More steel and building materials here on this part of the site, and then we approach into the crates and wrapped items that are being stored here temporarily, but we've already seen some of this inside the factory, and we'll see more of it on the east side being maneuvered into the factory via the loading ramps. Now we see a kind of a couple of trailers with items on the right. Most likely those will be picked up by the yard trucks and then moved over to the site later on. Here's some of that kind of silver mylar material. We did see some of that in the third floor on the west side. In addition to that, we see some more, which is robotic assemblers on the left-hand side of the screen. And those are most likely those Kuko yellow robots that we saw through the windows. Here's some more crates getting ready to be delivered. You see that yard truck getting ready to move. We will see that again on the east side later in the video, preparing for movement inside the factory. Many more crates. I'll zoom in so we get a closer look at what these appear like. It's hard to tell from the markings for sure what these are or what the brand is. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to kind of track down what exactly is in these crates. But once again, we will see all of these items at various places around the factory getting moved in for installation. Nice view of the sun rising up over the main factory. And of course, more of the materials on the ground. Steel materials on the left for building, and that's kind of left over from all the mezzanine work. And then we also have the transformers on this location. These are the white ones, larger size. There's another group of white ones on the left upper screen of the material staging yard, and there'll be green ones on the east side of the cathode building. This is more of the stamping presses for the Tesla Semi. This and the items you see in the upper part of the screen, also in that brown wrap, are destined for Giga Nevada. Just waiting for them to get the shipments ready to go and then head off to Nevada. So this is something I'm continuing to monitor. And if you follow Heinrich Zane, he is a drone pilot that does Giga Nevada. You'll see these being delivered at some point. But this is what the current situation appears like. In this kind of fenced off section is more materials that are equipment that is being moved into that structural pack and the 4680 portion of the factory, and this is all to support battery manufacturing. And this is a close-in view of some of the materials that are waiting for their turn to be moved in. Now, if you've been following my channel, you'll notice that about half, maybe a little bit more than half of the materials that were stored there have already been moved inside. This is one of the workshops. Actually, it looks like maybe a shop where they make ice, and that's placed around the site for all of the workers. Here's a nice view of some more workshops, materials, and those white transformers that I had mentioned. It looks like there may have actually been a few delivered, so I will have to check on that the next time I fly. Over at the outbound lot, a good mix of Model Ys and some Cybertrucks throughout the west part of the outbound lot. As I maneuver towards the east side, we'll see a lot more of the Model Ys here, a few Cybertrucks, and a large grouping in the upper part of the screen in the north outbound lot area. And we can see that activity is quite robust, even though this is right around sunrise. So it's about 6:45 to 7 o'clock in the morning, and production with the new shift hours is definitely underway, even at this early time of the day. So I think that's really a positive sign, and it is showing that they are certainly putting a lot of effort into production. As I fly along the 4 lanes where the autonomously driven vehicles arrive for final processing through the end-of-line facility, this gives you an idea of what it looks like here right now. And once the vehicles arrive here autonomously, the workers come out and then drive them into the north end. And as I've mentioned before, I expect at some point that may change. It'll be more autonomy, but this is the current process that they use right now. And I've had viewers ask me when that's going to happen, and I really honestly don't know. Here's a look at the test track at the bottom of the screen, the new wash rack here in the middle of the screen. And we can see that some of the trenching has been filled in with temporary asphalt, but there's still some other parts of the trenching that need to be finished off. This is being used, by the way, as I have seen vehicles being sprayed off already. Now the north outbound lot looks like they have some space for more Model Ys, and that'll probably happen over the next couple of days. And as I mentioned, here's this line of Cybertrucks. And I'll bring the drone down lower and kind of give a low pass along these. They all appear to have tonneau covers, which means that they are probably not the long-range rear-wheel drive. I haven't really seen any of those in quite some time, so I don't know what the current status is, but they're not manufacturing them, at least in any numbers that I can tell right now here at Giga-Texas. So I'll bring us up to a higher altitude and give you an overall view of the outbound lot and end of line, looking back towards the main factory. Now that we've returned back to the main factory itself, I wanted to show you the current situation with adding solar panels. You can see the kind of thin line that's underlying the TESLA letters that are kind of in the blanks for all the rest of the solar panels. You see more of the unirack mounts on the roof waiting for the solar panels, and this work is continuing, albeit very slowly. I've had some people ask about solar panels. There's about 30,000 currently on the roof. Eventually it'll be over 70,000 once all of it is completed. Now, some of the reason why they haven't done all of the solar panels yet is because they've been doing a lot of modifications, such as these HVAC cooling enclosures that are being added on the roof. And this work, something like this, has been happening all over on the roof, and it would just require them to move the solar panels away for the work. So they've kind of halted that until the rest of the modifications of the roof are completed. As I fly back to the east over the power lines, I'll zoom back in and show you some of the work that's going on to bring materials into the factory. We see the construction next to the glass secondary main entrance on the right. And a little later, I noticed more of those crates being delivered to that platform and being moved inside. In fact, you see one of them at the bottom of the screen. Here we see some crates have already been delivered. Also some items wrapped in green. You can tell that the crane is busy picking them up and moving them onto that platform. And I'll zoom in so you can get a better look at what they are bringing. And of course, the garbage chute allows them to take all of the wrapping material and the crates and deposit them down into those green bins for recycling. Here's some more materials next to that open door in the center part of the screen, coming onto the left now, and then more of those items. In fact, that truck that I had pointed out earlier has arrived here, and they're getting ready to lift up those crates onto that platform. Again, in this part of the site, the second floor, mezzanine, third floor, and third floor mezzanines have all been added in recently, and that is supporting a new production line for future products. As I keep the zoom in, I'll show you some rack mounts here on the side of the stamping machines structure, also some of those red and white items that have been stacked. And the big news is the kind of dark gray or black stain has been added onto those temporary wall panels where the glass is. So next to the kind of V in the building, it now blends in with the glass as we kind of expected. And of course, that's very close to that cooling tower that serves Cortex 1, which is part of the heat management for that data center. No real activity on the parking garage today, but I did want to show you all of the materials that are being stockpiled here. I will give you a zoom in here momentarily. We can tell that in addition to all of the pipes and the containers, we see these crates partially being opened up now and revealing some of their equipment items that is then subsequently moved into the factory. A lot more of the pipe segments and other materials here, and this is part of ongoing work on the south end extension of the main factory. And this is where they temporarily store all those items. Keeping the zoom in, this is a good look across the wind tunnel on the bottom right, the old Rainmaker, that kind of box with the the orange door, and the superchargers. I wanted to come back in and just look one more time at the secondary main entrance and continue to maneuver ourselves to the north. A couple videos ago, I did a night flight, so we got some views through the glass here, although I have to stay farther away because of all of the power lines. I did notice that there is some activity on top of this platform. Also, as I zoom in, there's like a truss-like structure near the opening on the right-hand side of the screen. And this is a good look at that. And it looks like the crane is also at work, getting ready to maneuver some items, maybe from the roof down to the ground. It's hard to tell. All of these casting racks are full. Most of the ones we see right now are the Model Ys in front of the backhouse filtration plant. And that continues as we move over to the melt furnace, or melt center. And then some on the right are the Cybercabs. Now, this recycles a lot of bulk material and old wheels, and it's used for the aluminum for the castings. Right in the center of the screen where I'm zooming in is where another one of the furnace loaders has all the equipment arrived. They're going to have to assemble it, and that will serve that furnace that you can see right inside the doorway. And continuing up to the north, kind of maneuvering around the power lines, this is what this north section looks like today, and some more of the old bumpers being stored here next to the rack mounts in the kind of the casting sorting lot on the north end. As I pull away and show some of the traffic coming in on Tesla Road, I wanted to also highlight the trenching work near the south part of Tesla Road is mostly completed up until about this point. And today we see some concrete vault segments have been delivered next to this opening. And then underneath the road to the other side, we can see that trench box and the work that is underway to connect these two parts of the site underneath Tesla Road. Of course, the old trailers on the top of the screen, the new trailer complex on the bottom of the screen, still being prepared for moving those operations, and a few Cybertrucks being stored here on the site as well. So I'm going to kind of maneuver the drone around, and we'll resume over near the cathode plant. Just a beautiful day and lighting to look back at the main factory, downtown Austin, in the top of the screen. And of course, this complex with the Cortex 2 die shop and the battery cathode plant, along with the crash testing facility. And this is what it looks like here today. They've recycled a number of the vehicles that have had crash testing, and those were on the south end on my previous video, and now they have been moved away. I thought I would come down into the alleyway. I haven't been here in a little bit of time. You can see some equipment on bottom left. We also see that cryogenics are being replenished into this tank, and there's actually some frost on one of the vaporizers right now on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side of the screen, we can see a lot of the kind of vapors coming off the bottom end, the condensation on the vaporizers, which indicates that obviously work is being done. And of course the chiller plant as well, with all the fans operational. Now, when I mentioned I was going to stop at the lithium plant down by Corpus Christi, that is actually linked to the cathode plant. And you can see that since there is operations here, they are obviously getting lithium hydroxide from some source. Maybe when we go down later this week, we'll see some of that activity at the lithium plant. Now, as I look towards the Cortex facility, a couple of things caught my eye. One is the center dump trucks that are arriving here onto the site. And this is what the activity looks like. There is some gravel at the bottom of the screen, also some dirt that's being stockpiled. If you can tell, the center dump trucks appear to already be loaded, so it seems like they are bringing the materials here right now. And obviously you have the bulldozer that is preparing the stacks of all of the materials, and the trucks are waiting for their turn. And this fenced off section is one of the workshops that is modifying some of these pipes and metal items, Plus we see some of the steel studs being stored here along with some of the wall material. Now speaking of the walls, much of it has had the gray texture placed on it. Here's some rebar at the bottom of the screen, and through some of the doors we can see that there is a little bit of, at least visible from this side, work on the ground slab. Nice view of the rest of the wall here and some of the openings getting ready for that texture coating, and then they'll stain it to the white color to match the main factory. A lot of the materials are already being pre-positioned onto the roof. They're finishing up the bottom about quarter of the roof right now, and this is a great view of what they are doing. They're putting the seam between the parapet wall and the roof to do the final connections. But once this is completed, they'll move to the next quarter of the roof and then continue again working to the north. So here's a good overall view of the Cortex facility and how it looks here today. A lot of earthwork on the left-hand side of the screen continues. They're raising the grade on that part of the site, and you can tell they're bringing in dirt. On the right-hand side of the screen, we can see the work that's been done with some of these concrete pipes. This is part of the underground mains or utilities, and I've recently seen a permit for this work, and that confirms what they are doing here. It does refer to this site once again as Cortex 2 in the permit, and it has a new address, and that address is off of Robotic Avenue rather than Tesla Road. So that is a kind of a neat change that has been recently published, or at least filed with the city of Austin. Now I'm going to bring the drone here over the dirt section. I wanted to show you all of the stakes that are in the ground, and I think that may be helping them figure out what is the depth of the dirt that is being brought into that part of the site. You can see more of those trucks arriving with dirt for that area. Speaking of arrivals, and probably related to that permit for the mains, we see more pipes being delivered here today and stockpiled on the north end. This is a great close-in view of what this appears like, and with the worker you get a sense of scale for these pipes. They are actually fairly substantial in size. Now as we bring the drone up a little more, fly over the rapidly drying out water detention pond, I wanted to show you the prepared surface for the electrical switchyard, or some people would like me to call it substation. As I mentioned before, LCRA, the Lower Colorado River Authority, calls this the switchyard, so that's why I mentioned that. But this is a good view of what that looks like. Here's a lot of the rebar and other items that have been delivered here for that construction, and that'll probably be supporting some concrete work for the footings and bases for a lot of the steel structure. And then here on the south end, work is continuing on the underground concrete vault and connection to the older vault. And what they're doing right now is, it looks like they may have actually poured some concrete, and they have the kind of covers over it. They're putting some water down on it, and that helps to ensure the moisture level is at the right amount and it cures properly. So this is actually a pretty big change, and it's maybe a day or two faster than what I was expecting and speculating on my previous video. But here's a close-in look at what is going on, and that kind of plastic coating on top of the concrete, and the water being sprayed again for the curing process. So really great to see. I think by the time I get back next time, much of this will have the forms removed, and we'll be able to see a lot more of the progress. Now the connecting tunnel shows these yellow kind of bars on either side. I think that's to help hold the cables that will go through that section. Speaking of which, work on cables to connect up the Megapack to the control trailer on the north end is underway again today. This is a nice close-in shot of that work. And I'll kind of fly along the Megapacks, and you can see the cable trenches or trays on the middle of the screen, and all the cables that are being run through that. So that'll bring us to an end of this early morning flight, views on the inside of the factory and around much of the site. And as I continue to maneuver the drone and get up to a higher altitude, this gives us a nice overview of all of the areas that we were able to visit today and the current situation of Giga-Texas and all of the supporting facilities around the site. So as I get ready to head down to Starbase, I wanted to say thank you very much for your support and for watching along here at Giga-Texas. Hopefully we'll have some good views of the lithium plant and we'll have a good Starship Flight 10. As always, thanks again for your support. Have a great rest of the week. Take care.